Welcome everybody to the final session of today's conference. We've been talking a lot about recycling over the past couple of days, and now we're going to switch to another very important platform in sustainability for plastics, which is bio-based plastics. And it's an area where Italy's really been a leader and been particularly strong, and I think that's reflected in the panel we have here. We have an illustrious and influential selection of experts from the field. I'll just quickly introduce them from this side, and then I'll ask them to introduce themselves in a bit more detail, and they've also got some slides to show. So from this side, we have Marco Vasari, who is president of Biorepack. Next to him, we have Alberto Fanaro, business development consultant at Totalenergies Corbion. Then we have Gigi Mariani, General Manager of Fi-Plast. And then at the far end, we have Mario Giovanna Vetera, Vice President of Sustainability and Public Affairs at Natureworks. So I'll ask each panelist to just introduce themselves and the organizations that they represent. And the first three panelists also have a few slides to show. So we'll start off with you, Marco.
Good afternoon to everybody. I have very few charts to share with you. So I'm here as president of Biorepack. Biorepack is the first entity worldwide acting in the organic recycling of compostable packaging. And when I mention compostability, I mention materials that are compostable according to the harmonized standard, European harmonized standard EN 13432. What we do what all the other established value chain of packaging recycling do, at least at Italian level, but is more or less the same of what is happening at European level. So we collect, so we pay for the collection, transportation, and organic recycling of compostable packaging. So our duty, our responsibility is to generate and to pay for it, to generate the recycling, the organic recycling of compostable packaging through the established system of recycling of food waste. What we do? Biorepack signs agreements with bodies, generally local authorities, public or private companies that are in charge to deal with food waste collection. And because compostable packaging is collected together with food scraps, so we work together with the same bodies that are in charge to deal with food waste collection and organic recycling. Today, the members of Biorepack are more than 200. So this means, and this is important information for you. So the member of Biorepack are the producer of compostable resin and the producer of compostable packaging. This means that in Italy today there are more than 200 companies that are producing compostable packaging, and in this floor there are the representative of these companies. Some information regarding how compostable packaging is recycled in Italy. The first and more important message is, in Italy, compostable packaging must be recycled together with food scraps. It's not a local decision, it's not an option. The connection of food waste and compostable packaging is generated by law. So there are no doubt about the fate of compostable packaging, at least at national level, at the Italian level. Compostable packaging is collected together with food scraps because they are part of the entire deal. Because food waste is please stop me when my time is finished.
Okay.
So we started more than 25, 30 years ago with food waste bags. And they are not packaging, but this is the starting point of our history. So how to collect in the proper way food scraps, how to generate an alliance with families living in small apartments that have to deal with a putrescible material that is complicated to collect. And plastic bag is a perfect tool, but the plastic bag is not compostable. So the first step is to have a material with the same in-use characteristic of a plastic bag, transparent, very, very thin, waterproof, but with the same end-of-life option, composting. So, and then the other application was a natural step forward with this approach. So carrier bag, Tupperware. And this is why, for example, in Italy we started to deal with coffee capsules or packaging of food, because there is a strict connection between food waste and materials able to pack them and to make the scraps easier to collect and treat. Where we are now, we started to work in 2020, so we are still young, not so young, but young. Our experience is limited, but in few years, the message is not that we are so brave, but it is possible. We can do it. It's possible to multiply this kind of experience. So today, Biorepack is collecting the compostable packaging with the 85% of the Italian population. And this was done in 2 years and 6 months. We have a framework contract with the Italian Association of Local Authority. This, we call it general contract, define the rules, how to pay, how to measure, what to measure, how to calculate the kilometers of the transport and so on. And then through this we transferred this framework contract with a local contract with the company that at local level are dealing with food waste collection and organic recycling. We have today, as you can see, more than 420 contracts. Sometimes with one contract we manage one entire region, and sometimes we have one contract with a council with few tens of hundreds of families. So we have to be also very flexible. Today, in terms of money, we are paying more than 12 million euro to local authority for the collection, transport, organic recycling of compostable packaging. The money is generated by what we call a CAC, so is the CONAI fee that is generated by each kilo of compostable packaging that is sold in the Italian market. So we receive this money paid by the producer of packaging to CONAI, and CONAI transfer to each vertical value chain, paper, glass, plastic, biodegradable plastic, and so on, and we use this money to pay local authorities. Our result, so we are, this year we have reached the 57.8% of recycling. This means that per each ton of compostable packaging sold in the market, today 578 kilos are organically recycled. So we are already reached the European target of 2030. And today, in the Italian food waste collection, compostable packaging represent 1.21%. This means that it's not true that in the food waste collection there is a huge amount of material that in some way can generate complexity in the food waste industrial treatment. I'm going to close my presentation. Of course, we are also generate a lot of communication in terms of commercial, because citizen has to know where to put compostable packaging, how to recycle, so the food waste bin and so on. We are making digital communication. We have project with local authority, because we are working at a national level but also at local level, generating, I would say, how to generate a good communication for citizens with the local authorities. And as a final remark, and I hope that to have used my time in the proper way, what we are doing, what are going to do. We want to increase our coverage in terms of percentage of citizen and local authority. So we are happy of 85%, but we will be more happy when we reach 90% or 95%. We are starting to adopt a pictogram that will be used by the producer of compostable packaging, and with one single pictogram we will be able to communicate through our information campaign how to recognize in a very simple way a compostable packaging. And then, of course, we will work with the local authority and composting and ID plant in order to have a more and more efficient collection and organic recycling of compostable packaging. Thank you for your attention.
Okay, thanks very much indeed, Marco. Some impressive figures there. And without that infrastructure, none of what we're going to be talking about could happen. So I'll hand over to Alberto now. So please introduce yourself and your company. Do we have Alberto slides, please? There we go.
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. Nice to meet you. So it's coffee time. You can go. No, I'm kidding. I'm sure that all of you, or most of you, like coffee and like to enjoy it. Now, I would like you to raise your hand if you have had ever a coffee through a capsule, like me. Well, I expected more. Now, if I asked you, why did you choose a capsule? Certainly I would hear several reasons, but I'm certain that one would be very important. That's convenience. When you make a coffee with a capsule, it's easy, it's fast, it's clean. as compared to making coffee in traditional ways, when you have coffee powder everywhere. But this convenience comes at a price for environment. Because you have finished having your coffee, now you have a spent coffee capsules. What do you do with it? Well, you know, in Europe now, it's compulsory to have separated organic waste collection. So you would be tempted, hey, there is coffee ground here, let's put it in the organic collection. But we have just learned from from Marco, that you need to put stuff in this collection that can be properly converted into compost, must be biodegradable, compostable. Now, the container, most of the time, is made in plastic, typically polypropylene, which is a conventional fossil-based plastic that will never turn into a fertilizer, let alone aluminum. Then you may have the temptation, okay, I will put it in the separate collection of plastic, but then you have organic matter inside. You would contaminate plastic recycling. Okay, there is another option. You could decide to rip the capsule open. Pay attention, the capsule may still be burning your fingers. And then you throw away the coffee powder in the organic collection. You clean the plastic cup. You put it in the plastic collection. And then the convenience is lost. So what do we do? Do we feel guilty every time we have to do this? Because let's not forget, if we cannot follow any of these steps, there is only one option left. These coffee capsules will end up most likely in landfill. Now, the organic material contained into this capsule will start generating methane. Methane is a greenhouse effect gas, much more powerful than CO2 that we all speak about, almost 80 times the same global warming effect than CO2. So, do I have to feel guilty every time I use a coffee capsule because I'm destroying the planet? Well, luckily there is a solution. As we have heard, there is the opportunity, if the packaging is compatible with the composting process, to put together the organic material plus the packaging into the waste collection. And this happens with the help of a bioplastic, so of a biological origin, which is also compostable. So you can put it into separated collection. It will be brought into dedicated composting units. And luckily, in Italy, there is a very capillary network. And with the help of Biorepack, population is sensitized on take advantage of them. And then, at the end, this coffee and the capsules that contain it has become fertilizer, which will close the loop. This is true circular economy. And how can this happen? In various ways, but I'm very proud to say that the company for which I work, Totalenergies, is offering an opportunity in this sense by the use of alumini PLA bioplastics. So, what is our company doing? Well, like every company, of course, we are not a charity. We are there to make business, to make money. But like any company, we have a vision. And the vision is ensure that the current and the future generation will have a nice, clean, and livable planet to live in. And how do we do this? By enabling all the companies who are using plastics that could prevent this future to happen, to replace those traditional plastic with other type of plastic that will not have such a detrimental effect on the environment. This may sound like words, nice slogans, but I can tell you, I have a 12-year-old daughter, and I do really want that she, like every other children, like your children, have a nice place to live. And it's true. The big contribution to global warming due to greenhouse gases is certainly coming from energy generation, from transport, from heating, but every drop matters. Many drops make an ocean. And so it's important that even in such a relatively small segment as packaging is, we do what we can for our future and those of our children. So what is this beautiful Lumini PLA? As I said, it's a plastic that comes from nature. It originates from annually renewable cultivation. In our case, it's a matter of sugar cane, cultivated as it happens in Thailand. From this, you can obtain this plastic, which, as I said, is compostable. So is perfectly compatible with those unit of treatment of organic waste. And like every plastic is also recyclable. Like polyethylene, polypropylene, PET, you can recycle it mechanically. And here comes another beauty. Due to the chemical nature of this plastic, it can be easily and with very little energy input be broken down into its original component that we use actually in our plant to make a new polymer. And so not only we make this polymer of lactic acid from the sugar that comes from sugar cane, but also we reuse the lactic acid into the plastic we have made, collecting when it's clean and pure, to make new plastic. And it's a plastic like many other thermoplastic material that is versatile, can be used in a lot of different industries, application, and converting processes. So why am I so enthusiastic? As you can imagine, everything starts with sugar cane. Like every plant, during its life, it captures CO2, by the way also issuing oxygen, which is good for us to breathe. And then it's converted into sugar. The sugar is converted via biofermentation process into lactic acid by Corbion, who is a 50% owner of our company, and we polymerize it into plastic. Due to the fact that plants are capturing CO2, when you consider how much CO2 equivalent, of course, you are generating during the production of PLA, and you take into account of the carbon that has been subtracted from the air, and you come to the balance, well, the result is really pleasing, because to produce 1 kilogram of PLA, virgin PLA, only half kilogram of CO2 in complex has been issued in the atmosphere, as compared to and sometimes more for other type of plastic, kilogram per kilo of plastic, of the fossil-based equivalent. I mentioned the fact that we can even recover lactic acid and put it back into production. In that case, the value goes even lower. And I can anticipate that we are implemented, that have implemented further improvement in our manufacturing processes that will further decrease this figure. So I cannot release anything yet. We are completing and getting ISO certification on values, but you will see figures that are really striking and really demonstrating that this ambition of keeping the atmosphere and the world clean is supported by fact, not just by words. So you see, this is what I like, the true circularity. You start from nature, you obtain a good, you use it as much as you can, you recycle as much as you can, but then you have also the option of closing the circle through the nature itself. As I anticipated, this material can be processed through a variety of methods, injection molding, blow molding, extrusion, film making, and this opens the door to countless applications. In packaging, we are here in Ipaquima, that could not be avoided, but you can spin fibers, you can make 3D printing filament. That's a growing application about which I would like in future to talk more. And of course, all this beauty we try to do at best on our own, but you cannot save the world alone. Clearly, we need a lot of support from our supplier, first and foremost Corbion, but not only. But despite the love I have for this polymer, I must admit that it cannot fulfill the requirement of every possible application as it is. So sometimes you need to fine-tune it, sometimes improve it, and here we need the cooperation with the value chain that is after us. And I think the most important help we can have is from the world of compounders. And they help us in achieving this goal. And therefore, I think it's time to hand over to my friend Gigi Mariani, who will tell you a practical example on how this can be made. Thank you.
Thanks, Alberto.
Thank you.
Okay, over to you, Gigi.
Yeah. Well, actually, I was very well introduced by Alberto. So, what's our part in this process? Is to create the compounds, so those kind of mixture of biocompostable polymers that are fit for use for the different applications. As you can imagine, Fi-Plast is 20 years working on this field of biocompostability. We were starting the first tests on biocompostable for flexible film in 2008. And in 2013, 11, 13, we developed also compounds dedicated to the rigid packaging market. In 2015, we presented the first coffee pots. And still now we are developing strongly all the markets that are all the different applications. Actually, fortunately, I would say, the single polymers, biocompostable polymer, have a little side effect. There is a little weak point. Not in every, but for some application, they are not fit for use as they are. That's our business, to create those modifications, to create those mixtures, to add those additives, or to just blend them in a specific way, making them fit for use. I would like to concentrate on the coffee pots because most probably for the three of us, for all of us, are a very, very interesting applications for the biocompostable material. First of all, because it's the most logic and the most ecological of the application in which biocompostable, especially for rigid packaging, are built for. So you have an organic that is packed in an intimate packaging that is plastic, and for which it's very complicated, the end life management. As the president was explaining, and Alberto was underlining, it's very complicated in this case to separate the packaging from the organic, or better, it's not complicated, it's inconvenient, it's not practical. By the way, the reason why you buy a capsule, it's completely dead in the end life, because it becomes more complicated, actually, than a standard coffee. So, in that case, it's not only logic, it's convenient from an ecological point of view to have an homogeneous waste. So, what we are doing, we are taking, of course, the base polymer. We are creating mixtures that are heat resistant, easy to inject or to extrude and thermoform, that can have a barrier, that have all the mechanical properties that are necessary for the final applications. And all these things we have to check together with the customers, because not all the injection machines are the same, not all the extruder for thermoforming are the same. So you need to, let's say, not to drive it because it presumes that we are better than our customer. That's not the truth. So we just have to walk together towards a final product that is acceptable from a customer point of view, so from a processing point of view, and from a final use point of view, in order that Biorepack can have at the end a final product that has no pollution, it's a pure biocompostable material, it's fulfilling the European standard 13432 in order that they can deal with that in their industrial compost plants, and that can not only drive the compostable plastic to the recycling, but also drive the huge amount of coffee that it's a fantastic fertilizer, and that for the industrial compost plant, it's a value. It's not a waste anymore. It becomes a value. Today, after, of course, we are talking about 20 years of story of biocompostable, the biocompostable plastics are at all similar to a traditional plastic. You can find in the biocompostable plastic the same exact performance that you were accustomed to have on a polypropylene, or a polyethylene, or a polystyrene. Absolutely. They are organoleptic, They are mechanically absolutely performant. They are available, because in the past, one of the issues was that the availability of the bioplastic, biocompostable plastics were buoyant. Now it's no more like that. The availability is there all over the world. The supply chain is not the easiest, but let's say that we are here also to help about that. It's clear that they simplify the end-of-life management, and that's also thanks to Biorepack network, of course. And the waste management of a bioplastic is virtuous, because as Alberto was speaking earlier, you can recycle it theoretically, or even better, you can directly go to your organic waste management, and therefore your plastic will re-enter in an absolutely ecological system, much more than any other plastic. That's it.
Okay, thanks so much, Gigi.
Thank you.
Okay, Maria, Giovanna, do you want to tell us a bit about yourself and about Natureworks? You know, Natureworks is a company and brand that's kind of synonymous with bioplastics and worldwide brand. So please tell us a bit about what you're doing.
Sure. So thank you very much for inviting me. I don't have slides. Natureworks doesn't need presentations usually. It's the first PLA plant at industrial scale. The plant is up and running since the early 2000, and it was founded by it's interesting to say, I tell this story, because it was founded by two giants, big American companies, Cargill and Dow Chemical. So the brilliant idea behind everything was to combine nature. Cargill is a big company still today, trading grain, wheat, food, soy, corn, you name it. I think all of us at home have some products coming from Cargill. And Dow Chemical, the plastic producer, and the chemical industry. So they joined forces and found a way to, using an old patent, because the patent from PLA dates back to 1920-something, 24, sort of. It's an American patent. And so they decided to join forces to create this super innovative material. We've seen already how innovative polylactic acid is. And what I find always incredible from my perspective, now working Natureworks since already 12 years, and that we discover every year something new we can do with this wonderful polyester. So I like the title of your panel, like Natural Selections. True. I mean, we are moving forward to a society where more and more bio-based plastics will have a role. And innovative, new, in a way, PLA is not new, but for sure is still very innovative. Because as a polyester, it has the same versatility of conventional polyester, meaning you can do many things with it. You can do cups. This is PLA. Not sure which one, but it's PLA. And you can see it's lovely, it's transparent, it's glossy, and if you touch it, it has a wonderful touch. So it's really a nice material. It is sustainable, we heard, it's compostable, it's bio-based, it's good for the environment. It's actually working nicely, not only because you can dispose of it in the organic waste bin, yeah, sure, that's a wonderful characteristics, but it performs well. One of the most fascinating applications for polylactic acid is 3D printing. So you can have spools and print it, and people buy PLA spools not because it's compostable, it's actually not compostable usually, but because it works very well. So bio-based polymers, like polylactic acid, can combine and can provide sustainability aspects and performances. They work well, exactly like conventional polymers do. We can add, I can maybe talk about how great is work with farming, how fantastic is work with natural product, not just because it's sugar and comes from nature, annual crops, but really because you get in contact with the farmers. And it's our duty, it's our responsibility also to certify our resin, so we make sure that the corn that we grow in the Corn Belt in US, which was where we source our lactic acid for our plant Natureworks, we make sure that that corn is grown with the best possible and most innovative agricultural techniques. So using less water, using less fertilizers, keeping under control biodiversity. So I think one of the characteristics of companies that are operating in this bioplastics world is that we sort of grow with sustainability already wired into us.
Yeah.
I mean, we think about it every day, and it's part of the product that we sell. So we sell performances, we sell innovation, we sell beauty in a way, and we sell sustainability. So I really hope that for the future we will have this more and more also recognized by the legislation. And I know that you have some questions prepared in this sense, so we'll be really happy to follow this conversation. So happy to move forward.
Okay, well, thanks very much to all of you for introducing your companies, new activities. So you've got a few questions to go through and explore some of the topics which have been raised. So first of all, let's talk about what you see as the biggest opportunities for bioplastics over the next 5 years and how the industry can make the most of those. And perhaps we could start with Alberto first on that one.
Personally, I believe that nowadays the majority of the application of bioplastics is in short-term lived applications. Either packaging, which you throw away once you have used the content, single-use tableware, and so on. I truly believe that the next step and the best opportunities are in durable goods. The first one that we are approaching is automotive, and I think everybody knows that you start working in automotive today and your nieces may see the result, or your grandchildren, because it takes ages. But if you don't start, you go nowhere. So that's currently the era, as I see, most promising.
There have been some, I was surprised to find, I think at the last K show, there were some applications already in production on some under-the-hood parts.
No, as far as I know, there is not yet any commercial vehicle that contains bioplastic yet, but hold your breath, we should see in the... Well, actually...
I think there was a valve
there were in some prototype electric cars, some components made by one of our partner for an active grill shutter for the cooling of the battery pack. Yes. Not really visible, but it's the first step. It's the foot in the door.
Did you?
Yeah.
What do you see as the opportunities?
Well, actually, I'm more... as a company, we are paying more attention on the food packaging. Unfortunately, the PPWR didn't help us a lot. But technically speaking and logically speaking, and let's say from an ecological point of view, I hope that there will be some intervention, because especially the example of the coffee pots is the main one. It's the easiest one, but it's not the only one. I mean, when you have an organic and a packaging for an organic, it makes sense that the end life of the both is the same. And unfortunately, we still have a lot of wastes. If you think at the bigger retailers, at the bigger supermarkets, especially when you go on the fresh food packet, unfortunately, there is a lot of fresh food that it's not sold in time before the expiring date. Let's hope that they don't change the expiring date to sell it in any case. But the point is that those waste has to be separated and collected separately. This is a waste of that. For the supermarket, it would be a great saving. I don't like the waste of food, but it's a part of the game when you have such an amount of fresh food in the supermarkets. So this is an application. Coffee pots, of course, as I said, but even mulch film. So there are applications in which the use of a bioplastic, unfortunately, Malfin doesn't include Biorepack in the channel, but actually for the application, for the development of a biocompostable plastics, those are the applications that makes logically sense for a bioplastic.
Okay. And Maria, Giovanni, you talked about the constant innovation, discovering of new things. What's around the corner? What's next?
Yeah, no, I agree. There is so much that you can do with bioplastics. Maybe something that we didn't say, talking about polyesters, are fibers. So wherever you have the possibility to create microplastics, we know that polylactic acid will not create persistent microplastics. So fibers, which are a typical application for polyester, actually even coffee capsules have a small fiber inside.
Yeah.
So it's going to be an interesting one. And again, we discover applications every day. 3D printing is one of them.
Yes.
It's not new any longer, but it was a discovery that universities did. We didn't.
Yes.
So, actually, I believe a lot in open innovation. So the possibility for companies, research institutes to work, to experiment, to play. And playing with bioplastics is fun.
Now, I can remember when 3D printing first happened, I was surprised to see PLA being used. And I spoke to people, and as you say, it wasn't because it was green or bio-based, or it was because it just had the right flow properties. It made very good 3D printed products. So it's a nice new market. Yeah. Marco, where do you see the opportunities? You talked about the kind of the progress that had been made, but still the progress that could.
From my side, it's not a matter of opportunity. I have a duty.
Okay.
I have to demonstrate every day that the collection and the organic recycling of compostable packaging is not a question of possibility, as what is to do. And this is what we do. If other application will put in the market, we will take and we will recycle. And I want to clarify, it's not a matter of technology. So these materials are an ingredient of the composting plant and the AD plant to make fertilizers. There are no doubt on it. We pay every day for this. So this is our duty and what we have to do. The more amount of compostable material arrive, the more money we are able to pay to local authority. So food waste collection and treatment is a cost for local authority. Our part, our small part, our 1% is part of the resources for local authority. So we have to see compostable packaging in Italy, the perception is totally different. So we are part of the solution, not part of the problem.
Yes.
Yeah. So to me, it's very simple. The more material will arrive, the more quantity of compostable packaging, the more money we will transfer to local authority.
Yeah. Okay, great. So talked about the opportunities. Let's talk a bit about the biggest challenges for bioplastics over that same 5-year period. Gigi, what do you see as the challenge? You mentioned PPWR being an issue, but
actually, let's be more general.
Okay.
The real issue in the real threat and in the same time opportunity, so it's something that has to be established, is the legal environment in which we are moving. So the authorities, and when I say the authorities, I mean the European community, but even the Italian state, the local countries, government, have to take a line, because the big issue that we have is to know which is the direction in which we have to invest. This volatility in the laws and this, how to say, uncertainty is creating a lot of resources are not invested because the direction in which to invest is not clear. When you see the SUP, that is a directive, and when you see the PPWR and you read them, there are parts that are in complete contrast. That means that even the legislator doesn't know the issue, doesn't know the argument in deep. This is something that the government in general, but the European community in particular, should sit down and talk with the people of the supply chain, people of the recovering of the waste management, of the industry, to understand and give a clear path in order that we can start to invest in the right direction. That's the biggest thing that we are thinking about.
Same question to you, Mehmet. Yeah.
Sure. I very much agree with the uncertainty point of view. If we don't have uncertainty, whatever it is, it's impossible for companies, for our customers, and for ourselves to make plans for the future.
Sure.
Personally, I would like to see more systems like Biorepack going and to export it in other European countries. That would help a lot, because wherever you have compostable packaging, have an EPR system which is collecting and recycling and taking care of it, is clearly creating clarity for consumers first, and helps companies know where to go. It's clear for everyone. So that would be another one. All over the world, I think we still have some lack of knowledge of what exactly our materials are and what they can provide. And sometimes this lack of knowledge is used as an alibi from our detractors to say, oh, you don't know what it is, and it's dangerous. And we also need some better science. I think bad science, especially recently, is not helping us at all. So we need better science and more knowledge, plus the certainty in the policy, for sure.
Yeah. Sure. We'll come on a bit to communication and consumer attitudes in a second. So, yeah, definitely an interesting topic. Marco?
From a general point of approach, of course, I have to deal with recycling, but if I have to continue in this discussion, the approach of Italy with compostable packaging is, from my side, very reasonable. We do not deal with the solution of the problem of the earth. So, for us, compostable packaging is not the solution of litter, of ocean pollution. So, we deal with food waste collection. Very simple. Food waste is the major component of waste generated every day by Italian families, but we know that is the same all over the world. So, how a material can help to have a better collection and a better recycling of food.
Yeah.
And compostability is a way to combine the generation of food, a generation of scrap coming from food, and compostable packaging. This is not to make compostable cars or we deal with food scraps, and there is a huge market. We can generate an incredible different sort of material application that are not a substitution, is not a drop-in, is we generate, coming from a very long history of the chemical plastic industry, a new generation of material that can generate a solution.
Yeah.
That is our approach, and this is why Italy is an hub, not only for the production, but only to demonstrate how we can collect food scraps.
Yeah. So how widely is that carried out in Europe? Where I live in London, I put my food waste in biodegradable bags, and it's actually the one bit of my waste that's collected every week is the food waste in the biodegradable bags. But I'm not sure how widely that's used across the UK or across Europe. You talk about the progress you've made in Italy, but what are you seeing in other European countries?
The difference is that in Italy is mandatory.
Yeah, okay.
There are no doubt what to do, how to do, and in which form. In Italy is mandatory. It's mandatory food waste collection, and anything that is linked with the food scrap has to be compostable.
Yeah.
Could be paper-based or bioplastic, but the combination, the final combination, should be compostable. Because we want to make fertilizer and bioenergy.
Yeah.
And the generator of energy and fertilizer is the food. If the food is collected not in the proper way, we do not generate fertilizer.
Sure.
So biodegradable plastic are not the producer of the fertilizer. Is the support, is the system to collect in the proper way the fertilizer generator that is the food scrap.
Yeah, it's the enabling technology that allows it to happen. Yeah.
So this is our approach. And this is why Milan is the bigger city at European level that is making door-to-door food waste collection.
And is it being done widely in France, Germany, Scandinavia, or?
The collection of food scraps should be mandatory at Europe. Should be.
Yeah.
But we know that 2/3 of the food scraps separately collected at European level comes from Italy. So there is something wrong in the application of the European legislation. But this is not my part of the deal. My part of the deal I have to do in Italy.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Okay. I think it's quite widely done in the UK as well. So maybe the UK is making up a fair bit of the rest of the portion.
UK is a complicated.
Because it's at council level, so some are.
I'm not the proper person, but Maria Giovanna, you deal with the market, and we know that in UK it's not so easy to speak about compostable material.
Okay.
But it's another story.
Okay.
We will do it in London, and we can present our approach also in UK. Why not?
Yeah. So Alberto, what do you see as the challenges?
Well, I see two types of challenges. I reconnect to what I consider a great opportunity, which is durable goods. Here, the challenge is of technical fashion, in the sense that now we aim replacing not just commodity plastic, but sometimes engineering thermoplastics. And the performance gap is even wider than what Gigi described beforehand. And therefore, here, it's a load that we have to bear in common. Of course, from our side, as we are master of chemistry, we can play and twist molecules. But again, this may not be enough, and therefore the cooperation with the whole value chain, starting with compounders, but involving machine manufacturers and the tooling companies till the OEM, is of paramount importance. Speaking about the more known and existing applications, I had a problem in mind, but I was very pleased to hear that probably a solution is being prepared. Speaking with a few flexible packaging manufacturer yesterday and today, I was asking why, in especially flexible packaging, bioplastic and PLA is not penetrating so deeply. And one of the reasons I heard is that it's not clearly identified in its nature, because every plastic part in Italy has a marking, and PLA falls under 07, which is all the rest. Now, it's important, if something is compostable, that is clearly marked so. And I'm so delighted to hear that this special symbol logo is being developed. This will open doors wide for a wider adoption.
Great. Okay, we talked a bit about consumer attitudes and the importance of communication. So let's explore that a bit more. I mean, how do you see consumer attitudes to bio-based and compostable plastics changing? And do the public understand the benefits of the materials, and are they prepared to pay a premium for bio-based materials. So, Giovanna first.
Well, we try to investigate this. I mean, I wish
Yes.
I have an answer, like yes or no. I
All
don't.
of us.
But there are several surveys that other companies, not only us, try to make on the market. What I could say is that usually when you ask consumers, they say, sure, we love compostables. We love it. Nice idea. Yeah, let's go there. Then would you like to spend more? No, that's your problem. You need to take, you may have the same price as the conventional one. So, and this is clearly not even a matter of communication. My experience before Natureworks, I used to work for a compliance scheme here in Italy. And communication is usually not a big problem. If you explain to consumers, to citizens, what they have to do, they do it. So if communication is clear, people will follow. Unfortunately, legislation very often is not clear, so it's not clear what they have to do. And price and the value on the market of this material, it's difficult for us to transfer the idea that bio-based materials are more expensive for a number of reasons. That is too complicated to explain, but unfortunately this is it. But we are trying to make efficient communications. This is for sure, and it's a key to gain the public. But on the willingness to spend more, up to now, I don't see it coming. But I would love to see what my colleagues here think about it.
I was thinking, I think first of all, on the communication side, I mean, even within the industry, there's sometimes confusion between what's compostable and what's bio-based, and the differences there. And I suppose, from not just the consumer, but the customer, so it might be a automaker or somebody who's trying to reduce their carbon footprint, presumably they'd put a value on something being bio-based and be able to, get some benefit there. Do you see a difference there between kind of the OEMs and the brands and the
difference between bio-based and compostable, because sometimes they are both, like us.
Yes, of course, yes.
Makes things more complicated, for very sure. Because it depends when you look from the end-of-life perspective or the beginning-of-life perspective. That's pretty much the difference. So appropriate labeling, for sure, will work. But it's also in the responsibility, in the case of packaging of the EPR schemes, to communicate to consumers and to citizens what that specific label means and what they have to do with it. The biosourced is a little bit more tricky, because today there is everything on the market. There is a C14 biosource, there is a mix of sources, there is mass balance calculation.
Yes.
So it's adding more complication and more confusion to an already difficult matter. So from my perspective, I think we need better labeling, and we need clear labeling, more for bio-based than for compostable, in a way. Compostable has more experience in that. So good is the new labeling that Biorepack is doing, but there are already other on the market, and they are pretty much clear. On the bio-based, I think we need more work to do. At least that's my opinion.
I mean, Marco, you talked about how the communication and the advertising and so on was an important part of your campaign, and
we are spending millions euro in terms of communication, but the numbers demonstrate that we are spending in the proper way the money, because our recycling numbers are very high, that are closer to the highest level of the packaging, other materials. But as Maria Giovanna mentioned, we believe, sometimes we think that citizens are less, I don't want to use the words not in the proper way. So sometimes we think that persons are stupid. If you explain what to do, they do it.
Yes.
So,
Totally true.
Why we are doing a pictogram? Because according to the regulation on the single-use plastic, a compostable material should be labeled with the turtle and contain plastic. How a citizen can understand that European legislation didn't think about a different pictogram for compostable packaging. So this product that is compostable contains the logo plastic by law. How a citizen can understand that this logo is in contradiction with the European harmonized standard on compostability? Why we do our pictogram? Not to make a contrast against the European legislation, because through the Biorepack pictogram we justify that the producer of compostable packaging in our family, and our family is below a logo that we can put in the commercials. And we are taking the responsibility that we are recycling in the proper way our product. And it's the only way to do it, is with a simple pictogram used by all of us that is not a certification. It's a symbol. Yeah. We put our symbol in thousands of commercial every day, and believe me, it will be very easy to help a citizen to understand that this pictogram in this product, in this product has to be thrown together food scraps.
Yeah.
Very simple.
Yeah.
We're not reinventing the wheel.
Sure. Alberto, what do you see? How do you see consumer attitudes changing?
I have a viewpoint. As Maria Giovanna said, I'm sure stopping anybody on the street and asking, do you mind the environment, do you want a future for your children, everybody will say yes.
Yeah.
If you say, are you ready to open your wallet and put a 10-pound note in my hand now, the answer would probably be not. But at the end of the day, if gently pushed, people do it. For instance, in Italy, the Single-Use Plastic Directive has been implemented with the mention that this long list of articles, single-use, cannot be made in plastic unless it's compostable. Now, that option, which became mandatory, brought an extra cost. Still, people are buying single-use compostable plates, cups, and cutlery, and no family went bankrupt. The example that I love so much, coffee capsules. Indeed, instead of 1 cent per empty capsule, you may spend 2. Will 1 cent more on the cost of a filled capsule cause people to stop buying coffee? I doubt. Actually, coffee beans have increased their price by, I think, 200%. The same bag of coffee I used to pay €11 now costs 26, and I keep buying. I'm stupid. So I think that probably it's up to brand owners to be brave and make the first step. There are a few visionaries, a few coffee roasters who made this decision, and they are still happy with it. So it's a matter of making the first step, and I believe that the market can follow and consumer will graciously accept.
Gigi, you've talked about how you've been doing this for a decade. Have you seen consumer attitudes change?
Let's say that everybody here was saying absolutely reasonable points. It's true that it's a cost. It's true also that in the interview, everybody's prepared to pay for, but then when they go in the supermarket lines and they see that there is a difference in cost, the green soul becomes a little gray. So, but from one point of view, it's clear that when things are mandatory, everything becomes more clear for everybody. Yeah? But we do not have to be naive, because as Alberto said and was mentioning, not example figures, but quite real figures. So a coffee pot costs 1 cent. If you make it biocompostable, it costs 2 cents. Almost nothing, if you think about it. Actually, for a major producer of coffee, we are talking of tens of millions of euros. So it's important that the consumer knows that there is a different cost in using biocompostable. Because those big corporations will not wake up one morning saying, I want to go to biocompostable. It's a hard decision. If it's not by law, it's a marketing decision. The marketing will give the green lights if the market, so we as consumer, are ready to pay for. Very easily. That's a hell of a communication to do. It's not easy.
Yeah, sure.
Not at all.
For our next question, we're looking at regulations and what you see as the most important developments in European regulations and standards for bioplastics, and also what impact PPWR will have. We'll start with Marco on that. But you already talked about how you'd like to see the kind of Italian situation rolled out over Europe when it comes to the food waste collection.
The Italian system is ready to take care of all compostable packaging that will be ready in the market. The packaging regulation is trying to limit as much as possible the use of compostable material. From my side, this does make not any sense, because it's so clear that there are a lot of reasonable applications that can deal with food and food scraps. Where is the lack? The lack, the limitation of interconnection in the European legislation. So circularity, circular economy, from my side, is connection. The European legislation in the last year is some vertical, with any connection with the other. So material recycling is not connected with organic recycling. That is recycling. The European Union is putting a lot of money in energy and nothing in fertilizers. So put money in the production of biomethane and nothing in the production of compost. So why, if soil protection is important, why we do not connect with the food waste collection and compostable material and bio-based compostable material? This means connection. And sometimes there is a lot of lack in this activity at European level. From our side, we are ready, as I mentioned many times.
Alberto, as a PLA producer, what do you see as the important developments in regulations?
There are many regulations boiling at the global level. Speaking specifically about European level, the vehicle end-of-life legislation is going to give birth to something. The expectation is that may favor, in this case, generically speaking, low carbon footprint solutions. And under this aspect, in our cases being both bio-based and biodegradable, we are in a good position. We mentioned many times packaging and packaging waste regulation. To repeat the obvious, clarity is needed, and we are far away from that. There are some doors half open in this legislation. For instance, the fact that bioplastic may be considered as an alternative to recycled content. I've seen so many converters here saying, my approach to sustainability is using recycled plastic. Well, why not a bioplastic? Because it's too expensive. Okay, but if it's really better from a life cycle assessment in terms of improving the future of this planet, as I said before, well, let's take it seriously into consideration. So I think that those are the aspects that are most likely moving the needle.
Gigi?
Well, I'm afraid that I will be redundant, but I don't care. Actually, the point is that the level of clarity of the legislation today is absolutely unacceptable. There are too many evidences that lobbyists are still not really following, let's say, the ecology approach. The SUP was designed with a, how to say, extremist, I would say, approach. We cancel whatever is disposable. I don't care. We don't want you to produce any disposable. This was the target, and was written like that. When they wrote the PPWR, it's very clear that there were a lot of people just pulling the jacket. No, you can't cancel this. No, you can't cancel that. So at the end, you have a pastiche. I mean, there is a mess. There is no clear path. From one side, you want the recycling. I want the recycling 100% monomaterial. Then, in this case, you can use, or you can use. That's not the way a market can follow. As it was said before, if you tell something to the market, they will follow it. But you have to be clear. One way or the other, I think that Maria Giovanna was saying it earlier, I don't care if it's the right direction that I like the most or not. But be clear, in order that we can move in the right direction, all of us. That's it.
I mean, we had a presentation yesterday on PPWR from a legal expert trying to unravel it all, and it's very complicated. And bioplastics were mentioned once or twice as possible exemptions or ways around. Or
yeah, that's if you make a regulation like the PPWR, that it's a law, it's not a directive. So that's a law that is valid on the European community. If you give it's not possible to write you might use.
Yes. Exactly,
or you can also use. Yeah. Because this is not the direction for the market. You leave that open. And therefore, there are, again, of course, because I'm very interested, I don't hide myself beyond behind a finger. But the point is that, for instance, in coffee capsules, nothing changed. They made a rule that didn't rule anything.
True.
You can still use whatever.
100% agree.
Whatever.
Yeah.
So when you go in the supermarket, you take a coffee pod in plastic, and you don't know if you should throw it in the plastic, you should throw it in the general waste, or you should throw it in the organic. Because, I mean, you can have 10 different materials for the coffee pods. What does it mean? They have to be in polypropylene? Okay, let's do like that. But give a rule. You are making a law, give a path. That's it.
Maria Giovanna, that's the last word.
Yeah, two things. One on European perspective, I would move from the PPWR to the SUP.
Please.
So I hope that in the revision of the SUP that is upcoming, it's ideally 2027, but we are working already on it, that we get rid of the dying turtle. Honestly, the dying turtle is one of the worst. I mean, Marco explained it very nicely before, but it's also a way to say plastic is bad. And I think in principle, plastic is bad is wrong. Whatever is the plastic, whether it's compostable or conventional. So it's not good communication.
No.
Anyway, I told to the Commission directly, so I'm pretty confident in saying this. I want to give a glimpse of hope from outside Europe. US is, amongst many other things, working strongly on EPR. I'm a strong believer in EPR. I believe that the right way for packaging is really designed by EPR systems, because they can really, and we saw it in Italy with Biorepack, and we see it everywhere, honestly, with other systems. So US is moving in the direction of EPR systems. And out of 7 EPR states who already enacted EPR legislation, 5 have provisions for compostable and bio-based materials, which I think is a positive way to go. And they are asking us. So they are asking the Italian system how it works, how we implemented it. So I think this is overall good news, but I am an optimistic by nature. Working for the Americans, I don't think I have any other choice than be always positive.
Well, an example I would like to give, in Korea, South Korea, there was a pretty favorable legislation towards bioplastics. But then there was a law revision that was putting this seriously in threat. As the part of the government in favor of compostability and bioplastics was afraid, they invited a representative from Italy in a series of conferences and meeting with government, and that was really bringing such a brilliant example, and certainly Biorepack is a key to it, that achieved a great effect because the law was maintained and is even more in favor of bioplastics. So I think Italy may be the guiding star for many foreign countries.
Okay, well, thanks. I'm afraid we've run out of time, so it's great that we've ended on a positive note there, and also I think affirmation of what I started with, that Italy is the place for bioplastics, so it's important that we covered it here at this conference. I'd like to thank all of the panelists for their contributions, for being so open about the opportunities and the challenges ahead, and it's a very exciting market, and thanks very much indeed for your contributions. Please join me in thanking them.